What is good, y'all? Welcome back to the airport. Welcome back to a brand new video. We are here. We are back with a brand new video for you guys. And as you guys can see, we're going to be talking about what exactly went wrong for the Miami Heat in today's video. It's been a night since we lost in the playoffs. I almost said playing, and it's been a night. So we've had time to kind of digest the loss and kind of get all of our emotions together. It was a really tough loss last night to kind of end our season. So because of that, I think a lot of people were on social media, they were like talking crazy. They were like, oh, trade this, trade that. After a night of thinking, obviously last night I uploaded a video where I kind of gave my off-the-cuff reactions, but in today's video I have like a very measured video for you guys to watch, where you guys can see a timeline basically of what happened and what went wrong for the Miami Heat from the start of the offseason of last season all the way up to last night, where we lost and our season got ended in the first round. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. It was an idea that I had planned on doing when our season ended anyway. So I've been wanting to put out this video since we lost. I was actually gonna upload this last night, but I was like, I'm just gonna wait until today morning just to record this with my thoughts all clear. So yeah, as far as other content, obviously the season is over, but that does not mean the videos stop. We're gonna have a lot more content, a lot more live streams, a lot more of these visual type videos. But as far as the topics that I'm going to be covering, expect draft content, expect free agency content, expect trade content, and expect player breakdowns and player grades from this season, where I kind of talk about and grade each player and kind of give an outlook to you guys about what I do believe their future is with this team long term. And yeah, draft, obviously we have the 15th overall pick. I'm a huge college basketball fan. You guys probably know that if you guys have been watching my videos. I'm a huge NCAA guy, huge college basketball fan. So I know a lot of these prospects. I want to kind of give you guys my insight as to who I think the best player is for the Heat to select at 15 if they keep the pick. And going to be talking about free agency candidates and trade candidates as well. So I know that was a lot, so we're gonna get right into it. Make sure you guys, as always, leave a like, subscribe if you guys are new, turn on post notifications, and follow on Twitter and sub to the second channel. That is all in the description, and we're gonna get right into it. So it all starts with the 2023 offseason. The Heat have just come off a finals run. They had lost to the Nuggets in 5 games in the finals, and they're looking to improve their team. And all of a sudden, Bradley Beal requests a trade from the Washington Wizards. The Heat are rumored to get him. They do not get Bradley Beal. We eventually dodged the bullet on that, as we saw. Damian Lillard, however, was the big one, and he requested a trade specifically to the Miami Heat. The whole offseason was Dame. Is Dame coming? Is Dame coming? Are we trading for him? Is Portland going to give him? What is the whole situation going on with Dame right now? The whole offseason was consumed by that. The Heat and the Blazers stall on trade talks multiple times. The Blazers want, XYZ. They want a really high price. The Heat are not willing to pay that price. And for that reason, eventually, after months and months of the Heat and Blazers having discussions, the talks stall and the Heat decide to back out. So Damian Lillard realizes that he's not going to be able to go to Miami. So his second destination that he puts on his list is Milwaukee. And Milwaukee goes out and goes and gets him for Jrue Holiday. I think a pick or some picks or something, and then the Celtics trade for Jrue Holiday by giving up Robert Williams and Brogdon, and I think a pick or something like that. So eventually we lose out on Damian Lillard. So the whole offseason becomes a waste of time, because we spent so much time trying to figure out whether we're going to acquire Dame just for him to get traded to another team. So that was a huge letdown for the fan base. We all wanted Dame. Unfortunately, we weren't able to get him, and we obviously paid the price for that. We also, in the process, lost out on our 2, kind of finds who blossomed in the previous year's run, which were Gabe Vincent and Max Strus. Our starting backcourt from last season in the playoff run were, snagged up by other teams. Gabe Vincent ended up going to the LA Lakers, and they ended up losing in the first round as well. And he actually dealt with a bunch of injuries this whole season. He didn't play a lot of the games. He had a leg injury. And then Max Strus ended up in Cleveland, and Cleveland is in a dogfight currently with Orlando. So we ended up losing out on both of them. On top of that, every team competing with Miami in the East basically strengthened their roster. The Pacers, the Sixers, the Bucks, the Celtics, the Knicks, everybody competing with Miami, in the East increased and improved their roster and the depth. And Miami, on the other hand, was not able to do that. They were able to draft Jaime Jaquez Jr., which was a really good draft pick, as you can tell right now by his rookie season. They were able to sign Josh Richardson and Thomas Bryant for cheap deals. Obviously, those signings didn't really work out as planned, but eventually they just ran it back with the same, core and basically the same team. And as we can tell, that was a very, very big mistake that the Miami Heat made there. Coming to the regular season, the Heat have been, the Heat were plagued by injuries the whole year. The big story of the regular season was how many injuries the Heat were dealing with. Top 5 in starting lineups used, top 5 in games missed. Hero, Jimmy, both missing significant amount of time. Whenever they were on the floor, they didn't look amazing. Jimmy looked really passive. Kyle Lowry came into the year struggling, and he struggled all the way up to January, where he eventually got traded for Terry Rozier. Terry Rozier comes in January for Lowry in the 2029 first. Plays pretty well in the games that he plays in, but unfortunately, we'll see. Obviously, down the stretch, he ends up getting a neck injury and he's out for the year. The Heat struggle in the clutch. They are bottom 5 in clutch time offense. They cannot close out games. They cannot win at home. Their home record is abysmal, and they also led the league in most leads blown. So the whole regular season was all a big roller coaster of chaos, and it was a very, very big negative for the Heat after the regular season ended, because they ended up finishing as the 7th seed. And obviously, I understand they dealt with a bunch of injuries, but even through injuries, because I know we dealt with injuries, but so did a lot of teams that we were around. And I can name teams that dealt with injuries. Apart from like Boston in the Eastern Conference, every other team missed their star. Boston and Orlando are the only 2 teams that I'm trying to think if they missed, time, if they had players missing time, but yeah, I don't really think so. I mean, Milwaukee missed Damon Giannis for some time. Philly missed Embiid. The Knicks missed Jalen Brunson. The Pacers missed Tyrese Halliburton. Like, injuries is a cop-out to me, and it was a cop-out for this series as well. We're going to get to this series, but I understand, obviously, being fully healthy helps, but finishing in a play-in position again was a big disappointment, especially when they had opportunities to finish higher. And it wasn't like they got completely outclassed by the rest of the top 6. It was a very close race coming down the stretch. The Heat were in a dogfight with the Pacers, Orlando, the Knicks, the Cavs. They were all fighting for who was going to be what seed. And the Heat had golden opportunities to win games that they should have been winning. And this is when they were fully healthy as well. Losing out to Washington, losing to Indiana, losing to Dallas, losing to Philly. Like, these games, the Heat should have won at least 3 of these games, and they lost all 4 of them. And then eventually they plummeted all the way down to the 7th seed, or I believe the 8th seed. They finished at the 8th seed because Philly won the tiebreaker. So because of that, we ended up becoming in the play-in, and all that stems from the Heat not taking the regular season seriously. Coming to the play-in and playoffs, it says 7 seed right there. I believe it should be 8. We ended the season as the 8th seed. We ended up losing the first play-in game to Philly. We were playing Philly in the play-in. Again, a really bad option for the Heat because Philly's a really good team, and we ended up facing them. Nick Batum had like 20 on us, and we ended up losing that game. And in that game, Jimmy Butler sprains his MCL after a Kelly Oubre foul, and because of that, he's out for the rest of the season. He does not play another game for the Heat, and he's out for their first round matchup, and he eventually, that eventually ends the season. So that's a big blow. Terry Rozier does not even play in the first playing game. He does not eventually play any games for the remainder of the year with his neck injury. They beat Chicago in the second playing game. That's cool. And we ended up facing Boston in the first round. Boston had the best record for any team throughout the entire year. They were, I believe they had 64 wins. They were 64-18, if I believe, if I'm correct and believing that. They led the NBA in three-point percentage. They were the NBA's best offense. They were top 3 defensively. They dominated the NBA. They dominated the NBA from start to finish, and they were the best team in the league on paper. We were completely shorthanded. We had no Jimmy Butler. We had no Terry Rozier. We had no Josh Richardson, who dislocated his shoulder. He was out for the whole year. We had no DeLon Wright for a game. We had no Jaime Jaquez for a game. Duncan Robinson was at 10%. And obviously those are all a bunch of injuries that I'm using, but I'm not trying to, give the Heat any excuses here. Yeah, this series, okay, fine. If they had, if they were fully healthy, who knows? This series is excusable. But the whole regular season, they got themselves in this position where they had to play Boston in the first round by, fooling around and falling all the way down to 8. If they were 6 or 5 or 4, you would probably see the Heat still playing basketball right now. I'll tell you that, because they wouldn't have to play Boston. And Boston, throughout the whole year, was the only team in the Eastern Conference that looked legit. No other team in the Eastern Conference looked legit. Everybody had their doubts and flaws and weaknesses. But we ended up falling all the way down to 8 and playing the one team that looked like an actual, competitive contender the whole year. And that is on the Miami Heat for not taking the regular season seriously. So that basically is the summary of exactly what happened with the Miami Heat, what went wrong. It all stems from last season. The whole Dame saga wasted a bunch of time for this team. We weren't able to even get him. So because of that, we lost out on a bunch of time. And I think a lot of, players who were involved in the trade rumors, their play, you saw that, being affected as a result of that. And a lot of things went wrong because of the whole Damian Lillard not coming to Miami Heat. Because of that, it was just a big, mess. They didn't really have a backup plan, and going into the season, they decided to run it back. Because of that, the build got tiring, man. It's been the same build for 5 years now. You got to shake it up now at some point, And I think it all starts with trading Tyler Hero. He's got to go. Nothing against him, but it's like you cannot bring the same core back again and again if that core has not won a championship. Like it just shouldn't work like that. So they brought the same core back. The core, like last season, was facing a ton of injuries. They just were not able to find any consistency. They were losing to teams they should have been beating. They were blowing a ton of leads. They weren't able to win at home. They weren't able to close out games. It was just a mess from top to bottom. And this was honestly one of the most disappointing seasons I've witnessed as a Heat fan. But, obviously there's a lot more, but this is definitely one of the most disappointing ones. Just, thinking about when you came off a finals run, you obviously want to do something at least as close to replicating that. And we did not even come close this season. We were terrible. So that is my kind of synopsis of what happened this season, man. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Again, this is just my opinion, but I do believe, obviously a lot of this is factual, but a lot of the takeaways are just my opinion. So if you guys disagree, that's completely fine. But that's, for me, why, the whole season went wrong for the Heat. It's a whole timeline of it. So if you guys enjoyed the video, please leave a like, subscribe, and comment down below. It was a really fun video to make, and I cannot wait to keep churning out videos for you guys. Like, I'm going to go crazy in the off season, man, because we're on the road to 3K, and I have to make videos as much as possible for y'all to see. So we're going to end it there, man. Thank y'all for watching. I'll see y'all later as always. Peace.